Hey everyone, thank you for joining me here for another YouTube video discussion here at Retro Geek Gaming, where we like to talk about stuff that's retro, geek, and mostly gaming related right now, up until I get to the point where I start to feel like I need to talk about more geeky and retro stuff. But speaking of retro, and also something that's technically, it is gaming, but it's technically more of a retro, I guess, at this point. Let's talk about an old game that I feel like didn't really get a lot of attention or probably just needs to get more of a shake from Nintendo. And I'm talking about Evo Oasis. Now, if you haven't played this game, it's kind of an interesting game. Let's talk about it. Because what Evo Oasis is it's a game by Grezzo, who you may know more famously as making some of the, I guess you can call them the remakes, some of the Nintendo remakes. Like I think they made Ocarina of Time 3D for the 3DS. I believe they made the Link's Awakening remake for the Switch. They usually make a lot of mostly what I know them for is the Zelda stuff. They may do other stuff, but I mostly know them as making the Zelda remakes. So it's interesting to me that they basically made a Zelda-like game of their own that uses an oasis or desert theme. Now, something that makes Evo Oasis interesting for me is the fact that you can do this lock-on. It's more of an attack-based game. And yeah, I have some raw footage here from YouTube for Evo Oasis to kind of give you an example of like how the game plays on the 3DS, because I couldn't capture it exactly from my 3DS, but it's more of an action kind of RPG game where you attack monsters, you press buttons to do combos. And one of the cooler parts is it takes a while to get to it. I think it took me a good while of gameplay before I got to it, because there's a lot of introductory stuff that of course it does, because it's also a town builder, because you get an oasis and you get citizens to come in and you have to do various side quests to make them happy. You have to give them resources. You have to go and maybe find somebody or get a certain person that's out in the oasis or out in the desert somewhere to come and join the village. And then they can build a shop, and of course people will then buy from that shop to give you the money that you need to then keep expanding, and etc, etc. And that's basically what makes it different from a Zelda game, because outside of that, you do eventually get to a point to where you get to dungeons, and it plays a lot like a Zelda game. You know, you have to go and expand things to make something bigger that you can then jump off of to get to a different platform, or you have to, in one dungeon, you have to raise sand up to get to another door, and then you have to lower the sand to go to another. And it's like, there's just a lot of different elements that remind me a lot about Zelda, and it's a really fun game to play. And it's something that I thought that I was going to enjoy when I tried to demo years ago. I just never really got a chance to get around to it. So now that I have, I wanted to recommend it. Maybe you can get a chance to play an emulator. Maybe we'll get a Switch copy or a Switch port at some point. I love it, Evo Oasis 2, just because I think it's an interesting concept, and there's more than enough room for other Zelda-like games like this to come out. But something that makes it stand out, and you can kind of sort of see some of the characters on the back here, is that there are different races. There's one race that's kind of like a serpent kind of like race, and they mostly focus on different attack types. There's one that's, I think, kind of like a fox or a cat. I don't remember exactly what it looks like, the Lagora. They focus more on like dual wielding and stuff like that. And you've got some heavies that carry around like hammers and stuff like that. And different characters can do different abilities. There's one character, and actually I think I got 2 or 3 of them, that can turn into a ball and go through different little small holes that you'll find in certain dungeons, that can then come out and go up to different parts of the dungeon to then turn a lever or something that unlocks the door for you to go to the next part. Other ones can turn into little seeds that become plants that can pop up and sort of float over to a different platform. Others have the ability to sort of take their weapon and cut open cobwebs to let you pass through. And others have the ability to break stuff like heavy boulders that might be blocking your way. So the game is strategic in that fact. There have been a number of times where I've been in the middle of a dungeon and I've had to use the Aqua Gate, which is sort of a forced teleportation system that takes you back to the Oasis. And this is where the game starts to sort of feel like it's flawed a little bit. You can only carry 3 characters with you, right? So if you have a character with you, you get like your heavy that you know is going to do a lot of damage. You have your main character, and then you want to bring in another. When you get later on into the dungeon, you can only swap out characters, and you can only swap out weapons or abilities or whatever at the Oasis. You can't do it in the field. So if I'm in the middle of a dungeon, it's kind of cool to see, okay, I need somebody that has this pellet ability to be able to go into here and open up a door. Or I need somebody that has a wand that I can use to then light the crystals that's going to light this whole room up and change the puzzle or something like that. It's cool that they have that, but when the game doesn't go to the time to tell you that you're going to need these abilities, kind of can remember when, what was it, A Link Between Worlds, where outside of a dungeon they'll tell you you needed an arrow and you needed a hammer so you could make sure you had that equipment. It would be nice if there was some kind of a warning of like, you're going to need this ability, you're going to need pellet, and you're going to need the hammer as an example. So that way you know what 2 people you need to bring with you into this dungeon. But since there is an aqua gate and you can go back to the Oasis in an instant and then just warp right back, it's not really that big of a deal. It's not really that big of a game-breaking thing. I just think that it would have been nice to have the ability to gain levels and maybe even swap weapons and stuff on the fly. But it's the 3DS, and they probably figured with the limitations of it, they couldn't do that. But that's something that makes the dungeons cool. The fact is, I'll be exploring a dungeon, and then it's like, here's this ability. You need to have the person that can put up the force wall to re-guide this boulder that's coming at you. And you just have to sort of be more strategic with it. It's a very fun game. If you get a chance to play it, if you have a 3DS and you haven't played it, I hope you buy it and try it. And if you don't have a 3DS and it comes to the Switch, whether it's through a re-release, whether it's through an eShop purchase, whether it's through a virtual console, or however they do it, I hope you pick it up and try it. Or if you want to, I guess you could emulate it on your computer. I'm sure there's a way to do that. But I wanted to talk about it and get you guys' thoughts. If you played Evo Oasis, what you think about it. And what do you think about the idea of an Evo Oasis 2? Because I think it's cool enough to release it. To come out with another Evo Oasis. And truthfully, there's enough room for more Zelda-like games. I mean, we have a butt-ton of Metroidvanias, and no one's really complaining, as far as I know. Please give us less Metroidvanias. There's nothing wrong with having more Zelda-like games. I mean, that's what got me into Darksiders, was the fact that it was a Zelda-like game. So, Evo Oasis is a game that is also now deeply fond inside of my heart because it's a Zelda-like game. But what do you guys think about Evo Oasis? And check out gameplay footage if you want. But that's just me. That's my 2 cents. I'm going to go ahead and cut this video short. I appreciate you guys watching. I just wanted to talk about that video real quick. And thank you for watching. Have a good one, and I'll see you next time.